I'll give you some thoughts, obviously, on the Lions game. I do want to get, I missed some of the people's reactions to it, too. I do want to discuss it. And look, I know most of it has been said out there, but my main takeaway from this game on Sunday, and we'll see how this plays into the rest of what we're going to talk about, is you know what? You know what the Lions were for the first time in a very, very long time? They were a pitcher that didn't have their good stuff and found a way to win.
Wasn't that like they did what NFL
on the road?
Anything, both together. The big theme yesterday that I said is that building this Lions team from the coaching staff to the offense, defense, special, all around, they're all in it together. They fought hard to the end. It wasn't pretty. The bend but don't break. We got into the talking about, Neil, the fact that you have to beat Zach Wilson if you're a playoff team. You still gave him up 2 tutties and 317, but it's a bend but don't break.
And here's the other key too that we talked about. In the end, Zach Wilson was Zach Wilson, just like we knew he would be, just like he's always going to be. And good luck, New York Jets, as a franchise. Good luck. Well, see you later.
They got Mike White.
They got to have him, man. They got to have him. But you know what? I don't care because Lions get the road win. Again, didn't have their best stuff, but were able to grind through 6 2/3 with 3 earned runs. That's what they did. They did just enough to win, and that's all you got to do. Especially, you talked about it in this one-score league that it is. They did that.
Absolutely. And
I want to know, D-Mac, and I'm curious to get your perspective on this. And I know we've talked about this as a topic before, and like what's changed. And I know we've had like a lot of 30,000-foot stuff, but that was another change. They didn't have the fastball.
But they stuck to it. You're right. Like, to me, as far as the 60-minute game where it just wasn't working, but they did not stop the whole game of working hard. You know, they gave up some big plays. They made some frustration, a lot more penalties. What did they do right? They won the turnover battle. And what did they do, Neil, also, too? Right? Stayed out of their own way and let the other team make some crucial mistakes. We questioned Robert Saleh and his clock management. So that goes to show you, again, coaching in this league is tough, but no matter what, this Lions team, they're out there fighting, clawing, scratching, even when they don't. Different guys stepping up. You look at the 2 guys that stepped up with touchdowns. Khalif Raymond who's been stepping up more so offensively, but showed up with the punt return there. And then Brock Wright, here's the one thing, Neil, a lot of times, this goes to show a lot of things. Brock Wright just dropped one that was an easier catch earlier on in that drive, or simply, and they went back to it. There was audio caught in the end zone where, who was it, Spending 42, would have come up and said, "We believe in you, Brock. We believe in you, man." Like, that's it. Like, this team believes in each other. They believe in the coaches believe in them. All this stuff, they're in it together, Neil, and that's what's changed.
And on the Woodwardsports.com chat thread, it actually just, here it is, William Rhodes. Wilson outplayed Goff, though, right? No, because Wilson made the mistake. That's the game turner, man. When you make mistakes, when there are turnovers, you lose football games in the NFL. In a league that's a one-score league.
It's a possessions league, right?
How many more times
do you hear we have to steal a possession? And you know what? That's what they did. That's why the turnover game's so well. Say what you want about Jared Goff, but what has he turned it through one pick in the past 7 games? You know what I'm saying?
So yes, Jared Goff is playing better than Zach Wilson.
Formula. It's not pretty. Neil, that's the whole thing. Do you want it pretty or do you want to win?
I actually got the stat right here. Lions quarterback Jared Goff, Sticks boy, has not thrown an interception in 219 consecutive passes. This establishes a new franchise record and serves as the longest active streak in the NFL. He's the first Lions quarterback to go 6 straight starts without producing a turnover.
That's it.
So there's the key. There's a big, huge, glowing key to this Lions team's success. Say what you want. You can't turn that ball over to that, and they've surrounded him enough with playmakers around him to make plays, right? Here's the whole thing. Neil, like you got Brock Wright doing this. You haven't lost anything. You probably gained something in the tight end position by using a couple guys and getting rid of T.J. Hawkinson.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. It's just the thing. What I see is that I don't see an offensive team. I don't see an offense and a defense and a special team. I see one whole team, coaches and all.
And by the way, too, I talked about a single tear coming down my eye when I watch Brock Wright in the open field make a huge play in a football game on the road for the league minimum.
Yep, facts.
Single tear came right down my eye.
Are we not doing things, right, that we're used to other teams doing to us?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
So is that not what's changed?
Yeah, and look, Steve Brown says throwing 300 yards plus is fine, but if you lose, you lose. Yards mean nothing, like Stafford's yards all of those years. And D-Mac, here's the one thing I've learned. We've been working together here at Woodward now, moving into our second year. And I've learned a lot, as I've learned a lot throughout the years from you, from working with you in the past. As an ex-athlete, this has to be maddening because everything has become so stat-driven all the time. And if you look at a box score, you would say, oh, yeah, Zach Wilson outplayed Jared Goff. In no way, shape, or form did I ever fear Zach Wilson out there on the field. I never feared him.
Which glasses are you wearing? You're wearing, that person is wearing his fantasy football glasses. He's wearing his, not saying it's, he's wearing his stats, his analytics, how 3/4 of the country view football through the app, through their fantasy
I'm looking
football.
through game
so that
flow.
to them, the fact that Zach Wilson, I had Jared Goff. I had to play Trevor Lawrence this week, and Trevor Lawrence put 4 touchdowns on the board, right, to win to whatever. I lost by like 8 points. Jared Goff had like 17 and was solid, but it wasn't flashy. So you look at Zach Wilson and the numbers he put up more points, but at the end of the day, he didn't win the game. So I think it's like, how are you looking at the game analytically? I think a lot of times, too, you run into this in business. So don't just look at this from a sports aspect. Take it to, like everything's about analytics, Facebook, internet. What do we get? What about to the guy you're trying to sell to that doesn't go on there, that has that intermediary person, right? That doesn't use the Facebook or whatever as his prime tool, right? You have to account for that. The percentage of it, right, can change. So is it 25%? I'm not saying it's not, but everything has to go into that. I don't think people look at it that way. They just look at stats, right, and say how many fantasy points to get. Well, he had to play better. No, because at the end of the day, it's about winning.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to game flow for me. Just sitting there watching that game, I never... did I feel like the Lions were in danger, like in trouble? I mean, yeah, I suppose a couple of times, but I never thought that Zach Wilson was taking over that football game. Never. Not for a second. And then he makes the mistake, and Jared Goff doesn't make the mistake. Case closed. And spending...
Well, how about the comfortability? That's what you said, right? You're waiting for Zach Wilson to make that mistake.
I'm waiting for Zach Wilson. How he was playing,
what he was doing, floating those balls up or whatever. It could have been.
He got away with it a couple times.
A couple of the catches were ridiculous, too, which thwarted it. But not for once, because the way we protected our quarterback, Goff didn't get sacked, that you just thought that, okay, Goff's not going to do something. You're hoping he's not going to make that one throw that I say he makes a game, right, that he hasn't got kicked in the butt for. But the fact is that it's just that, it's that constant, Neil. It's that constant, right? And that's what the offense has done, and it's enabled them to believe in each other. And they believe in themselves to be able to, like, they're probably sitting in the huddle going, boys, we put the most points up, over 30 in the league this year. We can get this. Let's go. Believe in ourselves.
Woodwardsports.com chat thread, Rad Dad Scott. Spencer, better start getting that Dan Campbell tattoo drawn up if the Lions make the playoffs.
I forgot about that.
He's sketching.
I forgot about that.
If there's one thing that I know about our audience, you'll never forget.
Yeah, they do not forget.
Right, Sam Flannel?
No, they're like they're like elephants, where they say an elephant never forgets. I say one thing and it is never, ever forgotten about. But going back to Zach Wilson, even if you're just looking at stats or more analytical, which I tend to be more than the average person, he made the one critical mistake of that game, that atrocious interception when it was 10-10 that directly led to 3 points by the Detroit Lions.
And it changed the entire flow of the game.
Yep. And
stole a possession.
And what was the final margin of victory? It was 3 points. And that was during a time where both offenses were stagnant. The only reason the Lions were able to take the lead was because Zach Wilson threw that flutter ball that was intercepted by Jerry Jacobs, which he took to about the 15-yard line, and the Lions were able to make a field goal, and Jared Goff did not make that mistake. That was the difference in the game. Yards be damned, touchdowns be damned. Zach Wilson made the critical mistake. That was the difference in the game.
And that's the thing when I talk about game flow is, and we see this a lot in basketball, but we never realize it, especially in college basketball, and I've seen it a lot this year, where like in the Oakland game at Boise State, it's 10-10 or whatever, there's a flow going, and Oakland will shoot kind of an ill-advised three that kicks off the heel and leads to a transition basket. And Boise State's like 1 for their first 13 from three. But they get out in transition, and the guy in the wing gets an open three. And he makes it, and the crowd gets into it. And then they make the next one, and they make the next one. Game flow. You know what I'm saying? Like those plays, singular plays in time that change the entire complexion of everything. And they never get the credit that they deserve at the time that it happened. You know what I'm saying? But everything is different now. Imagine if the Jets, if he doesn't throw that pick and they score, everything's different.
Well, it just always is. It's always game flow. It's the same way as that where we got into it yesterday and we talked about that going for it early on fourth down and being able to pin the Jets defensively led to your punt return. Yeah. Right. So in a roundabout way, but it is game flow and it's stealing possessions.
And real quick, too, before we cut to the break, Chili Damon says Wilson overcame those 3 points to take the lead. But, Chili, the game flow changed. That's what's different about it. The game, you felt New York getting momentum and getting things going. And if they were able to take the lead at that point, everything could have been different. But he made the big mistake. And, yes, they overcame it to take the lead, but think about what that lead could have been.
I mean, but I'd also argue that leading your offense to 17 points isn't usually enough to win the game, and that's just not good enough in the NFL. They did take the lead, but it was 17-13. You gotta think that the Lions are going to be able to score more than 17 points, and they did. 17's not good enough.
You got a defense like the Jets. 17 will win you some games.
Yeah,
well, it's not enough to win in the NFL.
They were on the road, and it was a big bog project, but you know what? They got it done.